Hello, and thank you for taking time to view my presentation. My name is Mohammad Saad Saif, and today I am excited to present my application for the role of Chief Ethical Officers at A&F. This presentation outlines why I believe I am the right candidate for this position, the ethical decision-making skills I bring, and how I would lead A&F's journey to become authentically ethical, inclusive, and socially responsible brand. Throughout the next 10 minutes, I'll share my response to the company's history as depicted in the White Hot documentary. Compare A&F's case with other well-known ethical failures, critically assess the potential value of B Corp certification, and offer actionable recommendations for both marketing and leadership development. So let's begin. So now coming towards the second slide, why I'm the ideal candidate. My experience in HR leadership spans over a decade, primarily within the clothing retail sector in Pakistan. And this time I've had the opportunity to work closely with diverse teams, often in challenging ethical environments where inclusivity, fairness, and accountability were not always priorities. Throughout strategic intervention, policy reform, and employer training, I have led successful transformations, moving companies' cultures from rigid top-down hierarchies to collaborative, people-centered workplace. For example, I have designed and rolled out the recruitment process that ensured hiring across ethnic, socio-economic, and gender lines, especially focusing on opportunities for women in conservative communities. I also initiated a wage equity campaign that led to living wages being implemented across all company operated stores. Importantly, I bring not just experience but ethical literacy grounded in theories like stakeholder engagement, corporate social responsibility, and work ethics. These frameworks don't sit on shelves, they have shaped my decisions and leadership styles every step of the way. A&F doesn't just need a rebrand, it needs an ethical rebuild, a transformation rooted in honesty, accountability, and justice. I believe I have the skills, mindset, and integrity to lead that change. You through the ethical frameworks that guide my professional decision. I approach every issue from a multi-theoretical lens. Utilitarianism, developed by Jeremy Bentham, helps me consider the broad impact of each decision. I ask who benefits, who is harmed, and how can we maximize well-being for all involved, especially those often left out of decision-making process. At the same time, I draw heavily on virtue ethics, particularly from Alcidaire work which emphasizes moral character. For me, this means building ethical leadership from the inside out by being consistent, fair, and principled even when it's difficult. I also apply Freeman's stakeholder theory to map out whose voice are being considered and whose are being ignored. In my previous role, I have facilitated stakeholder forums that brought together employees, customer, and community leadership to co-create ethics charters for the organization. Finally, I have implemented ethical leadership principles, particularly those identified by Brown and Trevino. These include setting the tone from the top, holding managers accountable, and embedding ethics into performance metrics and leadership evaluations. These aren't abstract concepts for me. I've used them to change policies, mediate conflicts, and promote fairness in organization. And I'm ready to do the same at A&F. So now we'll talk about the White Hot documentary. The White Hot documentary offers a disturbing but necessary reflection on A&F history under Mike Jeffries. The brand image wasn't just shaped by exclusion, it was defined by it. Jeffries openly admitted in a 2006 interview that the company was targeting only what he called the cool kids, those who fit a very narrow image of it, whiteness, thinness, wealth, and heteronormativity. This wasn't a mistake, as the film revealed it was a calculated branding strategy that excluded entire communities. Store employees were hired based on appearance, with non-white or non-Abercrombie looking staff hidden in stockrooms or not hired at all. The company's look policy banned headscarves and dreadlocks, leading to lawsuits, including a case that reached the US Supreme Court. One clip that left a lasting impression on me was when Jeffries said, "A lot of people don't belong in our clothes, and they can't belong." It's shocking, but it perfectly encapsulates the brand toxic culture. Even when A&F was forced to hire a diversity officer as a part of legal settlement, the efforts were superficial. The consent decree lacked enforcement and exclusion continued. Benjamin O'Keefe's quote in the film summed it up perfectly. Discrimination was their brand. As the future chief ethical officer, my role would be to dismantle these legacies and rebuild from a place of accountability and inclusion. So ANF exclusivity practice can be compared to Boeing's ethical failings during the 737 MAX crisis. Boeing faced worldwide condemnation after two tragic crashes killed 346 people. Investigations revealed that the profit pressures, rushed production schedules, and an emphasis on market competition took precedence over ensuring the highest levels of safety and transparency. Adverse Freeman stakeholder theory is clear here. Both A and F Boeing neglected their responsibility to essential stakeholders. For Boeing, this meant passengers, employees, regulators, and the public. For A and F, it meant customers, employees, marginalized communities. In both cases, trust was eroded because the companies failed to prioritize the welfare of those directly affected by their action. From Minton Friedman shareholder perspective, each company was fulfilling its narrow duty to maximize shareholder value, pushing sales and market share at all costs. But this short-term thinking ignored the reputational and financial damage that inevitably followed. In both cases, significant reforms and reputations repair efforts only began after public outrage, media scrutiny, and legal intervention. The lesson is clear: waiting for a crisis before acting ethically is costly and avoidable. As a chief ethical officer, I would ensure ANF adopts proactive, not reactive ethical practices. So, as shown in slide 6, should ANF pursue B Corp status? B Corp certification seems on the surface like a great opportunity. It reflects a company's commitment to the triple bottom line people, planet, and profit. It's appealing because it offers a clear signal to customers, employers, and investors that a company takes ethics seriously. However, after reading O'Regan's 2019 critique, I'm more cautious. He points out that B Corp is largely self-regulated. It lacks legal enforcement, and the certification process is surprisingly light touch. Most companies are assessed over the phone, and only 10% undergo deeper reviews. Even changes to governance structures are kept private. There's a serious risk of ethics washing. A&F could be tempted to pursue certification for branding purpose without committing to that hard internal work that real change requires. So should A&F pursue B Corp status? My answer is yes, but only conditionally. Only if we do it transparently, invite public scrutiny, publish our bylaws, and hold ourselves to higher standards than B Labs requires. With stronger governance, their party auditing and stakeholder engagement, B Corp could be a useful step forward, but it should be the result of deep transformation and not a substitute for it. Is AF ethical today? Since Mike Jeffrey stepped down, Abercrombie has made visible progress under CEO Fran Horvath. We have seen more inclusive sizing, diverse models, and messaging aligned with Gen Z values. Initiatives like the Curve Loaf Jeans have been praised for empowering different body types and making the brand more accessible. But ethics is not just about diversity and advertising. As Alison Kleiman, director of White Hot, said, it's important to talk about the holistic, and I don't know how much they have truly reckoned with their past. That's the core issue. ANF has yet to formally acknowledge the harm it caused or apologize to the individuals and communities it excluded. It hasn't implemented meaningful reparative measures or fully embraced restorative justice. According to the Crane, ethical leadership isn't just about future policy, it's also about accountability for past actions. Without that, repairing risks being performative. As Chief Ethical Officer, I would initiate a comprehensive reckoning process, one that includes apology, dialogue, and concrete reparation. That's the only way to rebuild trust and create a company that truly learns from its past. Enhance A&F ethical marketing, I propose two key strategies. First, a Past to Progress campaign. This initiative would feature the real stories of people affected by A&F discriminatory past, former employees, customers, and advocates like Benjamin O'Keefe. The goal is not to dwell on past mistakes, but to publicly acknowledge them and show the company has changed. This kind of transparency forces genuine trust and sets A&F apart from brands that simply brush their history under the rug. Secondly, I recommend forming long-term partnership with minority-owned fashion brand. This isn't about ticking boxes. It's about co-creating collections that reflect diverse voices. It also means supporting supply chain inclusivity by working with ethical producers from underrepresented regions and communities. These steps would demonstrate a shift from inclusion to embedded equity. They would position ANF not only as a reform brand but as an active leader in the reshaping the fashion industry for the better. Recommend two readings for CEO Fran Horvitz. It would be these. The first is Business Ethical by Crane, Madden, and Spence. This is a foundational text in the field and the core textbook for this module. It offers practical insight into how to manage corporate citizenship, sustainability, and ethical governance in global business. The book is packed with real-world cases and some framework that can directly support strategic decision making at ANF. The second is Edward Freeman's Strategic Management, a stakeholder approach. This text introduces the stakeholder theory and remains one of the most influential pieces in business ethics. It's specially used for managing conflicting stakeholder interests, building consensus, and understanding long-term ethical impacts. Both work emphasizes that ethics must be proactive, not reactive. They will provide Fran Horvitz with the strategic language and tools needed to lead AF into more equitable and responsible future. I want to emphasize that ethical leadership isn't about short-term fixes or superficial changes. It's about long-term cultural transformation. ANF has made important strides, but still has a long way to go. The wounds of past are not forgotten, and in the age of global transparency, companies must prove that they have not only changed their image but also their values. I bring to this role the leadership experience, ethical knowledge, and stakeholder first mindset needed to guide ANF through this journey. My approach is rooted in empathy, evidence, and justice, and I am committed to creating spaces where all stakeholders feel respected, represented, and valued. Let's not settle for being better than we were. Let's become a brand that leads the industry not just in style but in ethics. Thank you for considering my application. Full list of references that have informed and supported the argument in this presentation.